like working without a permit or something else, then that can definitely lead to cancellation. Getting and what that means is that it's going to be hard to get it back, because at the point that they have found that you have, or they've assumed that you no longer are eligible, there it's always going to haunt you, and you'd have to make sure you really come good with great evidence to show otherwise to get that back. And then keep in mind that if they cancel it, it's usually related to an immigration violation. So there was something that you did. Hi there, Mr. Tusk. Thanks for joining. Maybe it's something that you did, or it may be even a severe immigration violation like misrepresentation or fraud that they found. And usually that comes with a lifetime ban. So just getting a visa canceled, it could have just been a cancellation, or there could have been something more. I would have to just to hear what happened to determine whether there was something more. For example, another thing is, if you were, say you came through to the airport and got to the US, and then when you saw the officer, they basically canceled your visa, turned you back. Just the act of them turning you back and sending you back home is called expedited removal. And it means that you would be barred for 5 years, and you'd have to apply for a waiver. So, whether or not you can get it back, your chances of getting it back is going to be very much dependent on the facts. What did they accuse you of? What is on file? Did they charge you with any immigration violations, or did they just cancel it? Can you submit the medical after submitting your application? Absolutely, you can. She came up not by marriage. So, okay, great. So if she came up not by marriage, so she got it through a family member and employer, then she is free to go ahead, as long as she is now a green card holder, and I think you mentioned previously that she has her 10-year permanent residence. She can then get remarried right away. Right away, she can get married. What I wouldn't recommend, and you should be very cautious about this, is if you are about to get the green card but you haven't gotten it yet. Because when you're in with some applications, if you're applying, you may be applying as maybe an unmarried son or daughter of a citizen or a permanent resident. The minute you get married, you're no longer eligible for the green card if you don't get it. So you want to make sure that she has her 10-year permanent residence for sure. She's not going to get it. She has gotten it. And then at that point, she should be able be free to get married. But this is what I want to remind you of too. I'm not your attorney. While I am a U.S. immigration attorney, I'm not your attorney, and I'm not giving personalized legal advice here. And there's always going to be some freakish situation where a marriage really did affect some, right? Because there are so many different scenarios. So this is where it's important to get a consultation. While this is great information that is meant to empower you and educate you, it's not meant to guide you through your immigration process. So you should not be taking action on this information until you've got proper personalized legal advice. I am available for that. You can go to the link in the profile and schedule your appointment. The link in the profile, it leads you to the website where there is the contact page to schedule your own appointment. You don't even need to talk to anyone to do it. To call if you want to talk to a scheduling coordinator to get more assistance, you can do that as well. There's also online chat during office hours between 9:30 and 6:30 p.m. And then a contact form that you can fill out. And as soon as the scheduling coordinator is available, they go ahead and give you a call. So by all means, take advantage of that because you don't want to make any mistakes based on general information. Do kids under 12 required to take the COVID vaccine? So I believe there is an exception for children, but I don't have that information, the age, the actual age on me on hand. But I do believe that when you're traveling, there is an exception for children. Can you file with abuse waiver I-751 and still live with your spouse? Yes. That is a possibility, absolutely. Now, how to go about doing that and whether, with how to go about it and whether you qualify is really good. That's where you need to call and schedule a consultation and we can talk about it. But I do this, and the first thing I tell my clients is your safety is number one, right? Don't think that you have to stay with the abusive spouse to get your green card or to apply for this. Get out of an unsafe situation, even if it is having, obviously it's having a negative impact on your well-being, but you are number one. Make sure you're safe. I understand sometimes that may not be a possibility. I still work with my clients who can't leave the situation right away, and we make sure that this is done safely. It is confidential too, in that they don't disclose that you are applying for this. And so, that's what makes it possible to apply even while you're living with that spouse who's mistreating you. But it's important to put yourself first and get out of it. Don't think you have to stay to submit this application. Okay, I'm looking forward to getting that DM. Can I file for citizenship under the 3-year rule with abuse waiver I-751 if my I-751 is still pending and have a combo interview? That's it is possible to apply for citizenship at the 3-year rule if you're applying for it based on abuse. But whether you're eligible, whether that's going to work, whether it's a good idea to file this is going to come down to your circumstances. Right now, the I-751 is backed up by 2 months, and then the citizenships are taking much shorter, but they're not going to give you citizenship until they actually approve the I-751. So while they will call you in for an interview for both of them, it may not necessarily speed up the process. And it's not going to help you to avoid answering questions under the I-751. My children's I-130 got approved, but mine is pending. Should I wait until mine is approved to schedule their interview? So usually you don't schedule the interview, they do. If you have the ability to request them to reschedule it, but they're going to schedule the interview. And no, it's not their application, the children's applications are being processed differently from yours. Of course, it's going to be dependent on the marriage that you have with the step parent who is applying for them. But it does not mean that because yours isn't approved, theirs won't get approved. So, and I'm assuming it's summer. I'm assuming that this situation is where a U.S. citizen step parent is applying for your children, and they've also petitioned for you separately. Because in this case, where it's a U.S. citizen step parent who is sponsoring the children, each child has to have their own process. So that's what I'm assuming, it's that situation that's happening here. If your spouse is in Jamaica and I-130 at approve. Okay, so I'm assuming this is the I-130 that got approved. How long until the interview? Unfortunately, I am seeing a year to a year and a half after the I-130 has been approved. So it's backed up right now, but they're working on reducing the backlog. But be prepared for a year to a year and a half. Okay, great. So that was right. How long does it get to get approval for VAWA? So I would say 2.5 years. So 2 to 2.5 years to get the approval for VAWA. But the benefit here is that while you're waiting to get that decision, you are also able to work and get your travel document when you're applying for adjustment of status at the same time that you're applying for VAWA. And then once you're approved for VAWA, you are going to get a new status where you are able to get deferred action. That means protection from any actions against you. And you're able to get your work permit automatically, as well as get your travel document again, but you'd be able to get your travel document and your work permit. And then once you file for adjustment of status, you'll automatically be scheduled for the permanent residence interview. All right, so that's going to be it for me. Thanks so much for all of these great questions. I am going to be back tomorrow at around noon again to talk to you about a new topic and then also to get your immigration questions. I do see another question that I can't resist. So I'm going to answer and then head out. You're welcome, it's summer. A friend of mine have citizenship interview coming up, but her USC spouse don't have a valid ID and won't get one. Can they go even if his ID is expired? So, usually you need a valid ID to enter the interview. And if he doesn't, that could be a problem. But beyond that, I wouldn't be able to advise on the situation. It could be a problem at the door where they could refuse the spouse entry into the interview. But if they're having a citizenship interview, usually it's, unless they have instructed otherwise, usually it's the immigrant that's going to go. If it's a green card interview, then and it's a marriage based green card interview, both the spouse and the immigrant spouse have to be at the interview. So, in this case, I wouldn't be able to advise. I wouldn't be able to advise you. They really would have to get an appointment and talk about it to get further guidance. My husband is a US citizen and is filing for my kids and I. We are living in Jamaica and waiting on our interviews. Will all of us get the same interview date? So it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the interview on the same day. They may. Sometimes they do identify that all of them are related, the applications are related, and you may get it all together. But otherwise, it's not a guarantee. Just because they're being processed differently as completely different applications. So you might get different dates for each person. All right, that's going to be it for me. Thanks so much for your time. I'll be back tomorrow. I had some technical difficulties on YouTube, but you were able to catch the last half of the of what I was talking about here with the questions and answering questions. I'll be back tomorrow at around noon to talk about my topic, a new topic, and then you come with your questions. You're welcome, Sophia. Thanks so much. Have a good one.